Hello, my fellow fanfiction readers. It is I, Dark Symphony 777, with another fanfiction reading. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the story, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, and comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the story or any other future fanfictions you want me to read or review. It could be yours, it could be someone else's. Just go wild. So, the story I'm going to be reading is called Bowsette's Story, Koopa, Kouple, and Donk by the extra. And he decided to add like a second X because it's a Mario story. Yes, I'm jumping on the whole Bowsette bandwagon. I know what Bowsette is. For those possibly the 2-3 people who don't know what Bowsette is, it was a concept made by an artist because in the new the port of Super Mario Bros. U, they introduced Toad, and she got this new unique item just for her called the Super Crown. It basically turns her into a little Peach, and someone decided to get the smart idea, see what would happen if we put the crown on Bowser. Boop. Turns into a hot Peach with like gigantic bazongas and like 6 feet tall. And so Bowsette was born, and so Bowser was like super popular. Got to the point Bowser actually like increased Nintendo stock by like 50 points. I don't know how that's possible, but it happened. Okay. I just move the camera up here so I have a better look at the screen. So it's a romance humor story. Okay, it's Bowser and Peach. What? Oh, okay. So the synopsis says, after Mario is politely turned down by Peach to be his wife, Mario takes extreme measures to get his princess and results in quite an interesting life for him. But why is it Bowser Peach? Are we gonna get Swerve? Are we gonna get Swerve? Let's find out. First off, there's a link for art, but it's fanfiction.net. They don't allow links, and they don't allow for fear of copy paste, which makes sense. So let's get started. Mario exclaimed, seeing her future wife turn her down after he went all the way to the moon and back to save her. It had been a rough journey for the stubby plumber, shape-shifting and traveling all over the place. He had a lifetime of adventures at Bowser's castle alone. However, with Peach turning her nose up at the two, Mario realized his odyssey wasn't over yet. But puns! Ha! Once his arch-nemesis then became an acceptable ally, the large turtle put a claw over the red Italian's shoulder and smiled, whispering his idea in his ear. I'll put on a crown and get her jealous. Mario winced at first. Well, then again, you're gonna be pretending to date a 6-foot-tall, big-breasted Peach clone. How can you not cringe at that? But then looked at Peach with a bit of lust. He finally agreed to let Bowser put his plan into action. Taking Mario's friend Cappy, the green and yellow lizard, snuck up on Peach and snatched her. He then snags oh, wait a minute. First off, Cappy is an actual name, so capitalize the scene. Cappy. One grandma era. One the green and yellow lizard snuck up on Peach and snatched her. Wait, what? Okay, he then snagged Tiara and now he capitalizes Cappy and slapped them on some handcuffs. Sealing the deal, he clicked the cuffs on Peach's wrist and his own. Okay, this is different. Mario saw Peach and Bowser with his own blue eyes, seeing just what would unfold. This was much different from Mario's typical possession, but happened just as quickly. First, they both molded together, being covered in some galactic mesh to conceal the transforming details. It started with the body build, shrinking down to a chunky but more human in appearance. Then some turtle and dragon traits made their way onto its feet, hands, and back, acquiring claws and spikes. Okay, some parts on the chest and groan gave off. Some parts on the chest and groan. That makes no sense. That just. What? I'm stupefied. over how that makes sense. Some parts on the chest and groin. Two grandma allies. Don't make me pull out my Mr. Burns impersonation. How dare you? Gave off a feminine appearance as well. The head finally changed shape, molding into a soft, turtly appearance with a very broad snout and two fair-sized holes on the snout. Wait a minute. So this is not Bowsette. This is not. Wait a minute. This is not Bowsette. This is Koopa Peach. This is Peach Koopa. Like, because if you don't know, there are like Bowsette is basically not even Bowser, you know, because still a Koopa. Bowsette is basically a human. She just has claws and a shell and some horns, but she's pretty much Peach. Well, Bowser is technically Peach. You know, you have the breast, you have the butt, you have the anatomy, you have a tail, but you're still technically classified as human. This is not Bowsette. This is I believe this is called Peach Koopa. Alright. No. Press Koopa. Oh no, it's Princess it's Koopa Peach. This is Koopa Peach, not Bowsette. There's a difference. If you just turned Bowser human using the cuffs, that makes sense. But you turned Peach, you kind of combined Peach and Bowser into one person. Then you call her Bowsette. That's not Bowsette. It's not really Bowsette. I'm gonna keep reading, see if there's anything happens, like if what happens. Okay, well, let's continue. After the body fit the new look, the rainbow mold faded as a new humanoid Koopa. She even was fitted with Peach's dress to protect her lewd parts. Being more aware of her new reality, the female Koopa held her head as if it was being filled with memories of two completely different lives. This is not Bowsette! Bowser took the crown and turned to Bowsette, so Mario and Bowser can kind of make Peach jealous. This is not Bowsette. This is Koopa Peach. That's a different identity altogether. Bowsette is Bowser turning into Peach. Koopa Peach is Peach turning into a Koopa. This is Koopa Peach, not Bowsette. I understand still calling her Bowsette because Bowsette, makes sense as a name, as a kind of a combination between the but it's still the point is semantics. It's semantics. She didn't know what to make of it, but when she saw this man only a few feet away, she could only feel joy. Mario, they said, turning their head in curiosity. Mario sat there for a moment, thinking of a new name for this interesting character. He even considered all that could go on in a transformation as such, and thought of quite the appropriate name. Yes? Mario confirmed, hugging the Koopa lady. How does Bowsette sound to you? Mario asked with a dumb grin on his face, like anxious to be accepted by at least a part of Princess Peach. Bowsette gasped, clasping her hands together and twirling around in a hug. Before landing a kiss on the brown-haired plumber, she agreed. Why, of course, that sounds lovely, Bowsette squeaked, giving Mario a kiss and a lick on the face. From that moment on, it was set. Mario, Peach, and Bowser would all live in perfect harmony. It was just too good to be true, because it usually is. There were so many things on Mario's mind, but one thing's for certain, this was an entirely new woman. Sure, she was sweet and kind, but was also a bit tomboyish. Not annoying like Daisy, but simply preferred heavier music and casual wear. Since the Odyssey needed the hatch to operate it, Bowsette found it annoying having to sway her wrist near it any time they needed to travel. Both Bowsette and... Okay, so they use cuffs and the hats? That's not explained. One second. Saturate the inside, put them on some handcuffs. See, they only click. Yeah, that's like... Okay, so far it's not making a lot of sense, but it's a decent enough story. Let's see. Uh, both Bowsette and Mario agreed to settle in New York City to spend the rest of their days. Mario had no idea how to impress this lady. It almost ate him up. The basic Italian didn't know exactly how to get her heart and didn't want to blow it again. He had to think all the way back to his childhood to find his answer. Food, of course! Treating the belly was the best way to treat the soul. And good food at that, alright. He couldn't do it alone, so he called up Pauline for help. He knew that Peach's eagerness and Bowser's appetite would be a pain to feed without proper support, so maybe getting some sweet money to back him up could get enough food to make Bowser happy. Mario, you're a superhero. You're like a hero to the Mushroom Kingdom. Don't you have like a lot of money backed up? Or does Peach, like in the games, only pay you in cakes? After that call to Pauline, it was only a few days before the first date was in motion. Probably Mario's first proper date, too. All he had to do was save the princess, and he had a princess literally in his lap. Mario and Bowsette were relaxing at a local park when Mario's gloved hand inched towards Bowsette's. The female Koopa blinked, looked at her hand and at Mario. She asked, "What's the problem?" she asked in a calm manner. Shedding a tear, Mario sniffed and said, "I know you said you were comfortable with us being like this, but I really want to know the real you." A couple of waitresses came up beside the two, ready to escort them to the new Donk City Hall. Bowsette smelled some food from behind. Making herself turn around, she leaned towards the waitress, gunning to get the food, but caught herself. Her mouth was agape, surprised at what Mario gave her. She nodded, still in shock. "Whoa," she said softly, having her pink hoodie sleeve yanked by Mario as they made their way to the dinner. While inside the hall, Mario handed Bowsette... Why? So the author decided to capital space bow and set, so that caught me off guard for a second. Excellent. Smithers. Yes, Mr. Burns. Add another one to the grammar error calculator. All right, Mr. Burns. Excellent. So that's 3 grammar errors now. A flower as a token of gratitude for being by his side. "For you, my dear," Mario said confidently. Bowsette held the flower and reared her health back from it. She was quite curious in this new plant and leaned her snout close to take a sniff to sniff it a few. Leaned her snout close to it to sniff it. Okay. I confused myself for a second. Her snout was blessed with the rosy scent, but let a tingle ease its way down her snout. She felt her nostrils twitch a few times, making her flex them and then shake her head. Staying strong, Bowsette said, "Smells great," she half lied, but couldn't deny the amazing scent. Oh, she wished she could crack another sniff, but these new allergies were really something. It wasn't long before the varying statured couple were met with a ginormous hallway, having a cute table for 2 in the center of it all. Pauline walked by Bowsette, the mayor still busy at this time of day. The mayor commented to Bowsette, "We reserved it all just for you, but we normally hold this place for executive dinners." Paulette explained, taking a nearby elevator up to her office to continue her work. Has anyone even commented on that? Maneuvering around the tables, both Mario and Bowsette quickly made their way to the table for two set for them. Oh wait, she's wearing a hoodie. Every table had mints laying around for each person sitting, which made Bowsette steal some for herself and were put into her sweatpant pockets. They finally sat down, having a larger bouquet of roses sit right beside both their plates. The same waitress who followed them up finally served the spaghetti they prepared, putting a smile on both the customers' faces. Before Bowsette could begin chowing down, Mario started his own little love monologue. He confessed, "Listen, I haven't been the best, but I do love you, Bowsette." "No, you love Peach." Meanwhile, Bowsette had her twitching nostrils right in front of the roses to her side. She was already worried about one rose, but 10 of them she sniffed a bit as she tried to take a bite of the spaghetti. Slurping a spaghetti noodle, her nostrils flared as they absorbed the food into them to completely taste the food. This caused those same Koopa nares. Does that make sense? No, Mr. Burns. Excellent. Chuck another one in. Wait. I found one nares. It's a word. Shoot. Alright, who should I make that check out to? What check, Mr. Burns? The check to get that word expunged from the dictionary. I love Mr. Burns. This caused Osane Koopa nares to flare wider and tickle a more irritating itch. She paused to see if Mario was paying attention, then while still slurping the noodle, rubbing her wide snout with the back of her hand. Her knuckles plucking the growing nose holes and satisfying her will to fight the sneezy itch for the time being. Mario couldn't have it and just wanted to have Bowsette's gorgeous eyes be his own. He moved Bowsette's hand from her nose and continued, "But I don't need you to be like me. I love you just the way you are." Mario finished with a heartfelt boop to his girlfriend's large nose. As if the flowers weren't enough, Mario's forcibly, albeit gentle touch, caused her nose to vibrate and tingle just as strong as it did moments ago. Feeling that Mario's focus on her nose was more than enough for him to know what's up with her, she caved in and began scrubbing her twitchy, scrunchy, tickly nose back and forth. Taking a single claw, she clenched her hand and started to scratch the harsh skin on her snout. Feeling no added discomfort from the scrubbing technique, she first started scratching aimlessly at the broad white snout, swiping the entire area of her nose to get a feel for what's the most ticklish. As she assaulted her nose, Mario was simply confused as to why Bowsette had to pause her date to mesh her nose. Well, I would be confused if I just go like this. It's like, what was I doing? I had an itch. Gritting her teeth, the Koopa girl felt she had to take this into her own hands, as per usual, and started working harder and smarter. As the Koopa princess was attacking her nose, all Mario could say in curiosity was, "Bowsette." The Koopa girl slowed down. Trying to aim her claws right at her flaring nostrils, she digged her claws at the rims at them and then yanked them at them every now and again. Bowsette could only control so much of her own nose. To her dismay, as she scratched, she felt a claw stab the inside of her nostril and sent tiny bits appalling far down it. Suddenly, Bowsette's right nostril flared to gigantic proportions and forced a very weak sound out of her. Ooh. Breathing slowly, Bowsette regrettably hitched. She panicked as her nose was another step closer to complete annihilation of her sinuses, among other things. With his dumb blue eyes, Mario could finally see that his future fiancée was in quite a predicament. He stepped off his chair and circled around to meet Bowsette, her eyes watering and her nose dripping just ever so slightly. "Bowsette, what's the matter, Bowser?" Mario asked. Oops. His anxiety killing him as the poor princess continued to suffer. Bowsette shoved a claw fiercely against her nostrils, trying to cover the growing nares as best she could. She unfortunately didn't have time on her side, since her nostrils were slowly flaring and expanding beyond what her finger could cover. Mario yanked his hair and screamed internally. He asked Bowsette, "What about my hand?" as he slapped his gloved hand right against the Koopa's large nose. Bowsette shook her sneezy head, saying it was too late. She screamed a hitch, pinching her nose as Mario nodded and looked for another solution. She pinched a thumb and finger against each nostril and moved them against her nares in speedy circular motions. This only moved the pollen around more and made the Koopa even sneezier. Mario approached the princess with a handkerchief. "How about you sneezing to this?" Mario offered, hovering the tissue inches from the Koopa's flying nostrils. Okay, makes sense. Again, Bowsette shook her head, sending a scaly palm against her nose this time. You did not get it. She hissed more so, being even less coherent. How long does it take a lady to sneeze? Honestly. Then again, how long does it take a Koopa to sneeze? We may never know. Having her base of her hand planted on her nose, she was unable to swish and squash her fat nose up and down repeatedly. With the amount of force she put on her poor nose, she was able to shift the shape of her whole snout up and down, scrunching it in those same directions. Noticing her singular hand didn't cover a single nostril, she sent both hands up to squish her nostrils the same way, but it was too late. Mario had an epiphany and snapped his fingers together. He grabbed the group of roses and shoved them right in Bowsette's. "Oh my god, Mario, you're an idiot! How about some nicer roses, eh?" he said, thinking that forcing the sneeze out would make... Oh, okay. Now it makes sense. I was like, "Mario, you idiot! She was sneezing for that. So how about I force you to sneeze so you can get it over with?" Did this fan ever watch SMG4? Because this Mario kind of reminds me of that Mario. And that Mario's dumb as a brick. Her nose had enough. and sniffed a huge cloud of pollen to finish itself off. Bowsette lifted her hands, closed her eyes, and leaned way back. Her final words were, I sneezed out. Bowsette doubled over, burning meaty tables with sneezy fireballs coming from her mouth and nose. She raised the finger at Mario, her head facing down as one more sneeze tingled in her snout. She felt tired already and just wanted to eat, so she sniffed and started to get that word get right there needs to go. Smithers, another one to the grammar error. Which one? That get. It doesn't belong there. On the way, Mr. Burns. She tickled into herself more and failed. Mario approached his girlfriend, briefly looked at the discretion, patting her back. I don't care how dangerous or sneezy you get, Mario explained. During Mario's explanation, Bowsette reeled her head back and sneezed right on Mario, sending some hot flames all around him. Kinda deserved it. With the tickle gone, Bowsette happily rubbed her wide snout, the yellowest thing being the biggest pain it's ever been. She turned back to where Mario was and gasped, shedding a tear at what she thought was her own murder. Then a cough was heard. Mario patted some char off him and revealed to have transformed into Fire Mario. The perfectly safe Mario walked up to Bowsette and began kissing her, truly falling in love with the Koopa as destruction ran amok about at the dinner room. Okay. Alright, there's a second chapter. It was... Oh, how far am I? 21. Alright, it was early morning and Mario was still troubled with himself. Still remorseful about his girlfriend. It wasn't her fault she had explosive sneezing, in a sense, maybe a little. Well, duh. It was his fault. That doesn't mean she had to be so careful all the time. What fun was it to keep her nose away from anything interesting, let alone the rest of her Koopa body? The small plumber squinted and rubbed his eyes with his thumb and forefinger, shoving himself off the king-size bed carefully. He slipped his slippers on and walked around to his dresser to pick his clothes up. After sliding on his red pants and shirt, long overalls, and brown boots, he went to pick up a hat that wasn't there. Mario still missed his iconic cap. Looking behind him, he saw faint stains on a pillow, one that Bowsette was using for her golden head. Mario sighed, kneeling down and running his fingers through the Koopa girl's hair. A monstrous snore from Bowsette broke the mellow mood. Mario chuckled at her sleepy princess and went to the kitchen of his apartment to make some coffee. No one can ever say coffee, he said calmly. Still on the bed, Bowsette was feeling quite the opposite to our Italian counterpart. In her sleep, she was experiencing the fringes of an awful dream. She was far away from New Donk, with her nose being a menace. I swear about it, I can't let you see. Her nose exploded outward, sending an erratic fireball from both her flaming nostrils. Her once boyfriend clenched a fist, charging up his hand and furious at Bowsette. One of his eyes twitching in betrayal. All you had to do was not to sneeze. Mario screamed many blocks away from the retreating Bowsette. The Koopa princess was scared. She had been trying to avoid sneezing near the city, but kept sneezing on other important things and places, setting the whole city on fire. It truly looked like heck. Sniffing some tears back, Bowsette grasped her nose with a sturdy hand and squeezed hard against her nose, only to have her nose twitch in a very nimble manner. She sent a second hand in to keep pressure, but her nostrils flared her hands away and piloted the sneezy Koopa, winding the sneeze up. As Bowsette leaned back, Mario ran quickly to the sneezy Koopa and carried a flaming fist to knock her out. Yeah? Ah! Bowsette hitched, ready to blow right in front of Mario. Suddenly her flared nostril smelled something. Quite an odd thing to come from something stuffed with pollen. She took a deeper sniff and woke herself up, finding herself inside a dim room with a door fairly ajar. She rubbed her tired eyes and sniffed again, gracious that her nose was completely cleared, as well as all the delicious coffee in store for her. Eager to fuel up for the day, she hastily got a pink t-shirt and gray track pants on, slipped on her socks and tennis shoes, and met Mario in the kitchen. Sitting on the bar stool next to the kitchen counter, Bowsette found a coffee place to her right. She blew on it a tad bit. She found a coffee place to her right. Okay, so you're saying inside their apartment there's a Starbucks. Nice. But that just sounds stupid, but that'd be hilarious if it was actually true. It's like, I'm gonna get some coffee. All right. Welcome to Starbucks. I'm sorry. Get rid of place and add cup, because that sounds so funny as it is. She blew on it a tad bit and took a nice gulp, taking advantage of her Koopa mouth and stomach's ability to eat extremely hot foods and drinks. Can she eat some... Hope she eats a lot of spaghetti! Got you on some bagels, Mario sung, sliding a plate of 2 halves of a jelly bagel to the Koopa princess. He noticed the bread quickly disappear from her plate, giving him the chance to talk to his girlfriend. I have an idea. Let's go to the park, Mario said, waiting for Bowsette's response. Bowsette quickly turned her grin into a... That needs to have the letter A. And another one, Mr. Smithers. Right away, Mr. Burns. Sliding a plate or 2. Oh wait, I already. Bowsette quickly turned her grin to a frown as she bit her lip at the offer. Her eyes crossed, looking at her nose as she thought of last night. But Bowsette tried to answer, finding it difficult to give Mario a straight answer. Mario chuckled to his girlfriend and sat down next to her. He placed a right hand under her chin and moved her face to face him. He put a right hand on Bowser's shoulder and said, "What did I tell you last night? You don't need to worry. Really? I heard Pauline was actually blushing at your performance, and thanks to your sweet soul." Bowsette turned at the compliment from the mayor. "Really? Wow," she sniffed a bit, leaning forward to Mario. At the same time, both Mario and Bowsette placed a hand on top of each other. They blushed and smiled, looking into each other's eyes. They both knew what they wanted to do. They leaned their mouths close together and pursed their lips. Right as they're about to kiss, Bowsette's eyes grew wide-eyed. Get rid of that eyed, because Bowsette's eyes grew wide is just fine as is. Smithers. Yes, Mr. Barnes. And another one. Excellent. I added that prematurely accent. Because I missed you. Because I'm Montgomery Burns. And there's nothing my money can buy. Even premature words. Sorry, my friend told me I can do decent, like a very good Mr. Burns impersonation. Maybe I might do a Simpsons story. And I'm talking like to the entire thing as Mr. Burns. That'd be pretty cool. And I'm getting off topic. God dang it. I thought it invaded her mind, and she just had to ask Mario. Leaning right back, Bowsette asked the plumber, "What about the city?" Mario giggled to himself, kissing Bowsette on her wide Koopa snout. He said, "Don't worry, I'm a Mario. Me and you can do lots of things with no setback," he assured. Putting a dumb grin on her face, Bowsette nuzzled her boyfriend's large nose with her own and hugged him. "That's really nice of you. You really are the best," she complimented, setting the Italian down. Taking a few steps forward, Mario offered a hand to Bowsette and walked with her down to the first floor and out to the city streets. To his pleasure, there wasn't a park that far from here, but first he needed to get some things. Mario made his way to a store and got some bread, a Polaroid camera, and a jump rope. While at the cash register, Bowsette tapped Mario's shoulder. Her boyfriend proudly turned to face her where the Koopa girl asked him, "Aren't we forgetting something? You know," she finished her question by pointing at her nose, feeling she'd be sneezing her nose off without something to remedy it. The plumber giggled and added some tissues to his shopping bag, which made Bowser grit her teeth. Oh my god, this is SMG4 Mario. What's next? SMG4 is gonna... What's next? SMG4 is gonna look at this fanfiction and say, I got an idea for a new episode. Luke, get the camera. We know what we're doing for next episode. Are we doing another arc? No, we're gonna turn Bowser into a chick and have her sneeze on shit. And Mario doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Okay, and then Bowser's gonna punch him in the face, and he's gonna go, "Oh, very scary." She knew that antihistamines would at least make the tickles in her stomach bearable. She didn't know to think if Mario was being silly or conniving. The Koopa girl went along and remembered what his short little boyfriend told her. Finally going right to the new Donk Park, Bowsette and Mario were anxious for what fun they would have together. It could be peaceful, playful, silly, sneezy. All were decent experiences to them in their minds, but others were preferred for one of them. It was a modest park, only holding a couple large trees, some benches, and a cute pond in the middle of all. It had freshly cut grass, and many couples and dogs walking together, playing together, just being together. Holding hands with her boyfriend, Bowsette quickly yanked Mario towards the pond. She sprinted along with Mario lagging behind, still holding Bowsette's hand. "Bowsette, wait up!" Mario pleaded, almost being dragged along the dirt and concrete in their way. The Koopa gal giggled, having her yellow curly hair flow behind her like a well-kept flag. She fastened the crown lock to her head and took a seat down on the bench. snatching the bread from Mario. Taking the twist tie off, Bowsette stared curiously at the bread. She tilted her head and took a slice of bread out of the flimsy bag. Bowsette took a couple brief sniffs at the bread and handed it to Mario. Here, I want to see you do it. Mario agreed and ripped a piece off the slice, tossing it to the pond for the birds to nibble on. He took his gloved hand and grabbed the slice Bowsette was dangling in her grip, along with a few more slices from the bag. Using his other hand, he took a slice of bread and gently placed it on top of Bowsette's large nose. Good, Bowsette. Now sit! Bowsette crossed her eyes and grinned. The Koopa then slowly opened her mouth and then, as if she was a dog, snagged the slice right between the teeth. She bit into the slice of bread and let it... That needs to be and, not an. Another grammar error. And let it fall down between herself and Mario. How about you try, Bowsette offered, putting her own slice of bread on Mario's bulbous nose. Not having time to prepare himself, the slice bounced right off his nose and went crust first into the pavement. Both of them giggled and took some moments of silence to enjoy the beautiful weather. Bowsette was a bit shocked and pleased. After last night, she thought the bread alone would tingle her nose a bit, but she would be proud to say she found not a single itch in either of her Koopa nostrils. The Koopa lady was grateful for this, and decided to take the camera Mario bought to capture a picture of the gorgeous park. Sniffing deeply through her nose, Bowsette was blown away at the view as she angled a finger at the shutter and positioned the lens towards the sky. She squinted a bit, trying to focus the camera. Before clicking the shutter, she sniffed the air a couple times. She wasn't sure if anything got in her nose, if that was just fresh air. The Koopa prioritized capturing the moment and took a snapshot. Her ends then lowered the camera to her sides, and she lowered her head. Hearing a few giggles come out from the small man next to her, her nostrils quivered as she felt gentle petals swipe her nostrils as gently as she set her head down. Those petals belonged to a fire flower, and they scared the Koopa princess half to death. Jumping out of her seat, she took a claw and began scratching around the rims of her nostrils, which were growing larger and larger by the second. Tears flew left and right as she changed her scrubbing style on the fly. She reared her head back, squishing the large septum of her Koopa snout with her scaly palm while aiming her claws at her quivering nares cartoonishly. Bowsette took huge dramatic swipe at her poor nose. While still rubbing, Bowsette cried, "Mario, that's rude," she hissed angrily, sniffing and snorting from the flaming flower that was bestowed upon her Koopa snout. Chuckling, Mario approached the now sneezy Bowsette and pushed the fire flower right back at her. "Relax, if you are sneezing, then let it come out," Mario insisted, plucking another fire flower from the ground while placing the first one on the Koopa's nose. With her bright blue eyes closed and streaming tears, Bowsette sniffed deeply and got an even bigger whiff of the flower. Her snout parted as her left nostril flared enormously, forcing a fist to snag that nostril in a sporadic scrub. Bowsette stretched and pulled her nostrils with her knuckles, sending her fist left and right to her nose rapidly. She tried harder to fight the itch and force her eyes open. Seeing the fire flower nearly fall off her quivering nose, she giggled, grabbing it with the same hand she was scrubbing her nose with. The Koopa took very slow and deep breaths, trying to tame her extra sensitive Koopa snout. She was still quite sneezy, but her snout didn't flare widely while still being large. Her snout scrunching was also calm, but still wrinkly. With her mouth agape, she sniffed the flowers a couple more times, being face to face with her greatest enemy. She could only feel more tingles go up her nose, but she had to overcome these allergies. She sniffed a bit deeper and harder, and finally got that sweet and spicy scent that was a fire flower. Bowser grinned and giggled a bit, having some fire flow from her mouth. Right when Bowser was able to deal with some of her allergies, Mario noticed the fire from her maw. Out of all the things to happen, having a fire-breathing Koopa being fueled by more fire was the worst thing Mario could possibly think of. The Red Plumber was desperate and took some ice flowers to power himself up. As much as he'd rather let the sweet soul in front of him be free, he knew he couldn't survive that type of sneeze. Aiming his hands at Bowsette's nose, he blasted cold air right up her nostrils and mouth, hoping that he would be able to do enough to cool her down. Bowsette was freely sniffing the fire flower, but her sniff started to sound a bit stuffy. She swiped a claw at her nostrils a few times and moved her eyes past her own nose, only to see Mario chilling her. "Mario, what are you doing? She hitched, feeling as though she was in a tundra already. She shivered and sniffled, trying to keep another grammar error. Trying to keep nose from running as a new chilling feeling clashed with her suppressed sneezy feeling. "It's good for the both of us. I took it too far," Mario admitted, continuing to gently blast freezing ice at his girlfriend's dangerous nose. Feeling two itches fight to make her sneezy, Bowsette plunged her now wide nostrils and wiggled her large snout. Even at the rate Mario was blasting her, she quickly found her fingers growing quite numb. She lost her grip and hitched further. I'm gonna... She aimed her wide Koopa snout towards the warm sky, trying to dodge some of Mario's ice. She began to feel the snow from Mario's hand melt a bit in her nostrils, having her outside liquids flowing through her already inflamed sinuses. She snorted and sniffed desperately, trying to calm her warm monstrous nose to no avail. Mario... She hitched even louder, screaming for all to hear as her and her nose put on quite a show. She swung her hand back to her nose, rubbing her raw hand against her equally raw nose. She attempted to stimulate her nose somehow so that she could sway the sneeze back. With every left scrub, her nose grew more numb. With every right scrub, her nose was more runny and itchy. At least the fire and ice within her sinuses won yet another battle, sealing her control over her Koopa snout and stretching her nose with violent crinkles. Bowsette's legs grew limp and she landed on her knees. Hitching her final breath before the shower, she cried, She tripled over, stabbing her claws into her snout with the third one. Already she froze her boyfriend's legs in a block of ice, but her nose wasn't done yet. Her body grew more tired as she lazily leaned back again, sticking her nose still high into the air. Loosening her grip, she let out a weak hitch. She sneezed over and over again, nearly passing out beside her boyfriend. Coming to their aid, Captain Toad smiled and got some Toad pals to help them get back home. They dropped the freezing Mario and a drowsy Bowsette at their apartment and treated Mario very quickly. Captain Toad then left a few things with Mario to aid her girlfriend and sent his farewell. Well, we tried her best, Mario admitted calmly. And that's the story. So, what do I think of the story? I don't think it's really that good. I mean, it's a humor romance, but the thing is, first off, a Bowser Peach pairing? No. I would suggest cutting out the Pauline because she only shows up in one scene, so it's like, you don't need her there. As well as switch Bowser and Peach and just add the pairing thing to Mario so that way you have in the pairings Bowser, Peach, Mario, because it kind of makes sense because there's no Bowsette tag, despite the fact I'm pretty sure Bowsette's going to get her own tag. Second off, add an author's note at the beginning of the story describing this is not really Bowsette, this is Koopa Peach. Because Bowsette and Koopa Peach are two different things. This is not Bowsette, this is Koopa Peach. Granted, a unique take on Koopa Peach because Bowser and Peach combining, but it's still Koopa Peach. It's not Bowsette. I would at least like the fact that it's, add author's note, just adding that. And finally, I think the humor fell flat in my opinion. In terms of humor, all the humor kind of revolves around Bowsette trying not to sneeze and Mario kind of inadvertently making her sneeze. And I guess that can be funny to some people. It just wasn't funny to me. Not to mention, the joke, it's kind of a one-note joke. There's only so much you can do with, a joke just revolving around someone sneezing. I mean, it's not really, you can't really classify it as a humor story if you only rely on one joke that stretches along the entire story. It falls flat and kind of gets people tired of let's go, get to the punchline. You do an overly long joke, people are just gonna get tired of it, and this is pretty much what happened. I think it's at least a nice concept. It's a decent enough story, a 3 out of 5. I don't really have anything wrong with the story. It's just I don't really like the fact that the author tried to think of this as Bowsette because this is not Bowsette, and the fact that it's just one joke just stretched over the course of nearly 5,000 words. I don't like that. Maybe add a little more variety of the jokes besides just sneezing. I don't know. I think you could possibly make this longer. Maybe. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. But that's my reading on this story. This has been Dark. There's like I can't really describe the story that much because there's nothing of note that happens in the story. This has been Dark Symphony 777, and